Hey, I'm Gary Waldman, and coming on today to talk about Neal Casal's album Return in Kind, an album of cover songs that he released in Europe in 2004 and on February 22nd, 2005 in the US, which is the 16-year anniversary today. So why not have a chat about it? Michel Pamploon, who is the head of Fargo Records in Paris, is going to come on and talk to us, tell us his memories. He released a bunch of Neal's albums, always a great supporter and friend to Neal, and they worked really well together on creative ideas. And Michel will share some of his memories of the record. Neal recorded it mostly in 2003 in California, and we'll talk about that a little bit and hear some of the other memories that Michel has about it. Let's say hello to Michel Pamploon. Well, I wanted you to come on today and just chat. You know, the Return in Kind is, I think Neal started recording it in 2003, and I guess you put it out in 2004 on Fargo in France and Europe. And was it the first record that we did together without Glitterhouse? I can't remember.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so, because the thing is that we had just put out that Maybe California compilation.
Yeah.
In order to, because all of the Neal's releases, France catching up at that time because we were working with Glitterhouse, and Neal already had a lot of records out, and in order to kind of focus the attention and kind of tell the story, we had done that, little compilation, like an introduction to Neal Casal, and it had been Record of the Month in Rolling Stone, and that's right after that we decided to do a cover album in order to. There was no time to do a proper new album. And we wanted to propose something new that wouldn't take so much time than recording a brand new studio album. So that's a bit of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the time, Neal had Jim Scott, who had produced many records for Neal, and was also the co-producer with Dave Schools of Highway Butterfly, the tribute album that's coming out. Jim Scott used to work at a studio in Hollywood called Cello Studios. And so Neal and I were there all the time, whether it was recording or Neal sometimes was playing on records that Jim was working on. And but we always just loved to hang out there. And they had like a storage closet at the end of the hall that was maybe 8 feet, 10 feet wide, and about 12 feet long. So it was essentially a closet. It wasn't really a studio. But I talked to the people who ran the studio, and they let us rent that room so that Neal could have a place to work. At the time, when he was living in LA, had a roommate or two, and it wasn't a great place to try to make home recordings. So we set up this little studio right down the hall from where Jim was always working, which was great because, hey, could I borrow a microphone, or can you come down here and listen to this? So Neal was recording on an 8-track half-inch tape machine. Maybe it was 1-inch. I think it was half-inch tape machine. It was this, but he would get a beautiful sound out of it, and he got really good at recording. And so that's where he went after you guys decided to do a cover album. He went in this little closet, and Jim Scott helped him just get it set up and sounding good. And then Neal went in there and did it. And I think the only 2 musicians that came in and helped him were Farmer Dave, from a friend from Beachwood Sparks, and he played a bunch of stuff. And then Eric Haywood, it's a great pedal steel player, played with Sunvolt.
Richard Buckner.
He played with the Pretenders as well. He came in and played some beautiful pedal steel. And one thing I think about Neal, when Neal sang cover songs, he really gave you everything he could do as a singer. So sometimes in his own songs, he was a little more careful because he was following a particular melody, or he had just whatever the self-consciousness that comes with singing your own words sometimes. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But I just know that when he sang cover songs, he really sang them well. And this record, I think, has some of his greatest singing, particularly There's a Reward and Debris and so many of the songs. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So what did you think when you first got it? Did you guys discuss when he was starting to record? Were you talking about the song selection with him at all?
We had discussed it, but nothing where I would have been able to suggest any song, because that's not relevant. I think when we decided to push the button on a covers album, it was like maybe something that Neil had always thought about. That it just, I think it came totally naturally like it was already in him, or a project that he had thought about before, but yeah, it really felt natural, and the title itself is pretty obvious that he was, tipping his hat to the people that he loved, and the songs that he loved was was a natural thing. What else can I say?
And there's good variety for anybody who hasn't listened to this record. He does a song from the Faces. He does a Gene Clark song called Too Late, which was a song from a gospel group called the Consolers. And,
what's really interesting, I think, in that covers record is that when such records are successful and are done right, you kind of, the artist covering those songs kind of tells a lot about himself and in his feelings and where he comes from with those songs that are not his. And I think that's what happens. Besides, it's really interesting that it doesn't go for the obvious, covering the Stones or Graham Parsons or any obvious choice. A lot of songs that myself I had never heard before. I mean, I knew Debris, but I think that's about it. I know half of the artists. I mean, I knew Doc Sam and Royal Trucks, but I didn't know those songs, and that's what makes it interesting too. It's really a Neil Casal album. That's what's great about it.
Well, he just had such a diverse interest in different kinds of music, so he could take a song and make it his own when he covered it. And it's too bad he didn't do a few more volumes of this, because there were so many songs that he sang great. Neil, when I first met him, he was in a high school metal band, and he fairly soon met a guy called Davis Janes, who became his mentor, and they had a little duo where they would sing old songs. So Neil would sing Elton John and Rod Stewart songs and Jackson Browne and Stones and just beautiful ballads. And that was the first time. That was really before he'd started writing his solo songs. And I heard him and I was like, wow, he can actually do this. Like, he would sing those songs so beautifully. And that was really his training. So when he went back to make this covers album, I think it felt like home to him. He likes singing other people's songs. Oh, so pretty amazing. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
I had there's one time that really I was blown away at a sound check, and it was before that album, and I think that was maybe the very first show we did in Paris. Very first show he played in Paris, and it was really when we started to work together. And he did during soundcheck "Streets of Baltimore," and was really amazing. I would have loved him to cover it or to listen to it again, but that version was so great.
Well, I'll blow your mind because I will send you a version of Neil singing that song. And might have been 1992. There was in Hackettstown, New Jersey, there was a place called the Jiggers Pub, and they had a just like local open mic band night. And so Neil and our friend Andy and Bill Kelly, the late Andy Gessling, the late great Andy Gessling, they went up there and played some songs, and Streets of Baltimore is one of them. And I had a little pocket DAT recorder, so I have a recording of that, and I'll dig it out for you and send it to you of him singing that song. He always loved singing that song. Yeah, there's that's the selection on Return in Kind is so great because they're, like you said, they're not the obvious songs, and he did make them his own, and it's a great record from beginning to end. Also, I'd say There's a Reward, the last song on the record, possibly Neil's greatest vocal performance, I think. So
well, that's I mean, obviously I had released on Fargo other records before that, and I knew Neil's music, but it's on that singing, as you say, and on that covers album that I realized he's a soul singer. I mean, of course, he's a rocker, and more than anything, I would say country related. But at the same time, as he puts it himself in the liner notes that we had done for the record, because for the release, he had written a little note for every song. And he says something that I've always believed, that everything is just one. I mean, the soul, the country, the rock. But as you say, in the singing performance, I realized maybe later than probably you, but that guy has soul. He sings from the heart, and he can be a soul singer.
Yeah, it really, really could. And do you remember what the response was to the record? I'm confused. Like, I don't remember like a lot of the stuff I remember really well. This particular record, I remember the recording process, and then I don't really remember. I don't remember why we didn't put it out until 2005 in the States. I don't remember what was happening. I think we were talking to some record label about a record deal, so we held it back, and then that didn't happen. And,
okay, well, I honestly, I didn't remember that there was a US release, but other than that, the response was really good, but it was the response of a covers album, Neil had his thing and fan base, but it was really acclaimed for the choice of the songs and the singing, and it was a good response.
Yeah.
It was a good in-between records with a great taste in music. What I remember, what was really cool is that we had a London show. And that we didn't have that for Paris and any, I think, other city in Europe, but we had done like a little Fargo festival night in London, where BJ Cole, the British pedal steel guitar player BJ Cole, had filled in. We had hired him for the night to play the parts of Eric Haywood, and I think Andrew Bird was on the bill. And that was a really cool thing in London for Return in Kind.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man. Well, thank you. You were a huge part of Neil's recording career, and you were always there for him, and he respected you so much. Like you always let him make the records that he wanted to make, and you helped out as much as you could, and you gave him a lot of enthusiasm and support. we always appreciated that so much.
I have loved doing all that.
Yeah.
It's been a great ride.
Yeah, and also you worked with Neil on the reissue of Fade Away Diamond Time, so that came out on vinyl. Obviously, it's available on vinyl now, and we put it out last year. But you had worked with Neil on that before he passed away. And
yes, in 2013. So Neil did an oversaw and did all the artwork and sound with Jim Scott. So he was very much behind. All we had to do recently was press it.
Yeah.
I mean, manufacture it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's great. It's great to hear it on vinyl, and talking to you more about some vinyl because I have some ideas, so we could talk about that off air.
All right. Whenever you want.
All right. Thanks so much, Michel. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. Take care, Gary.
All right. See you.
Bye-bye.